Have you ever looked into her eyes and felt like you were staring into a stranger? Like she was right in front of you, but 1,000 miles away? Let me ask you a question that most men are too afraid to face. What if she's already left you, emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically, and you just haven't accepted it yet? Because here's the truth. A woman who cheats always leaves signs. And while most men drown in denial, a rare few choose to wake up. In this video, you'll uncover the 10 unmistakable signs that a woman is no longer loyal, and how the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and Stoic clarity help you see things not as you wish they were, but as they are. Before we dive in, make a decision. Subscribe to this channel if you're committed to mastering your emotions, your relationships, and your purpose as a Stoic man. Like this video if you've ever had doubts you didn't know how to face. And I urge you, watch this video to the very end, because ignoring these signs doesn't protect you. It only delays your pain. Let me introduce you to Victor, a man grounded in philosophy, calm in the face of chaos, steady like a tree rooted in centuries of thought. He met Lena under a pale sky in a quiet bookstore. She quoted Seneca. He smiled. Their souls collided with words. But storms don't always come with thunder. Some arrive in silence, with held glances, half-truths, ghosted kisses. Victor didn't see it at first. But the truth has a way of showing up, again and again, until you can't ignore it anymore. These were the signs she left behind. Sign number 1, emotional distance that feels like an abyss. Let me ask you something personal, just between us. Do you remember the first time she held your hand, and it actually meant something? Not just fingers brushing skin, but souls intertwining in silence. That feeling like the world had finally paused just long enough for the two of you to be infinite? Now tell me, when was the last time it felt like that? Because here's the truth most men won't admit. Sometimes, a woman leaves long before she walks out the door. She doesn't pack a bag, she doesn't slam the door. She just drifts. And it starts so subtly, you almost convince yourself it's just a phase. That's exactly what happened to Victor. He used to wake up next to Lena and feel sunlight. Not because of the window, but because of her. The way she'd trace her finger down his arm. The way she'd look into his eyes and see him. Not the man he showed the world, but the man he really was underneath. But slowly, that warmth turned cold. He'd say, "I love you," and she'd nod. Not because she didn't hear him, but because she didn't feel it anymore. Her laughter became polite, her kisses became quick. Her eyes, those same eyes that once looked at him like he was her universe, now stared past him, like she was searching for an exit in the distance. And you know what made it worse? She was still there. Still making dinner, still responding to messages, still showing up beside him in public. But inside, she was already gone. Victor started to wonder, was it something he did? Something he didn't do? Was he not enough anymore? Or was she already giving her soul to someone else? And now I ask you, brother, do you feel her pulling away? Be honest with yourself, not with me, with you. Do your conversations feel hollow now, like rehearsed lines in a play no one wants to star in anymore? When she touches you, does it feel like muscle memory? When you text her, does she reply with speed or obligation? The emotional distance always comes first. And it's not just space, it's an abyss. A silent, soul-draining distance that no words seem to close. She's there, but you miss her. Not because she's far away, but because you know deep down she's not in love anymore. But here's the part no one tells you. You knew this feeling before you had words for it. That ache in your chest, that silent scream when you're lying beside her, but it feels like you're sleeping next to a ghost. That's your intuition trying to wake you up. Don't ignore it. Don't numb it. Don't bury it in distraction. Because that abyss you feel between you two, it's not going to close itself. And the longer you pretend it's not there, the deeper it gets. So let me ask you one final question before we move on. Are you still in love with her, or are you in love with the memory of who she used to be? You already know the answer. Now, are you strong enough to accept it? Stay with me. This is just the first truth. The next one might break you, or it might set you free. Sign number 2. She becomes unreasonably defensive. Let me ask you something, man to man. Have you ever asked her a simple question, and she looked at you like you just accused her of a crime? You weren't angry. You weren't controlling. You were just curious. Hey, where were you last night? Who was that guy commenting on your post? Why didn't you call me back? But instead of getting an answer, you got a war. She rolls her eyes, her tone shifts, sharp, cold, cutting, and suddenly you're not in a conversation, you're on trial. That's exactly what happened to Victor. One night, Lena came home later than usual. No message, no call, no explanation, just perfume that didn't smell like hers, and silence that screamed louder than any words. Victor didn't yell. He simply asked, "Is everything okay?" And that's when the storm hit. "Oh my God, what is your problem? Why do you always think I'm doing something wrong? You're so paranoid. It's exhausting." But Victor wasn't accusing her. He was reaching out, trying to connect, trying to understand the growing gap between them. But here's the brutal truth. When a woman has something to hide, even your calmest question feels like an interrogation. Because deep down she knows. She knows she's pulling away. She knows there's someone else occupying the space in her mind that used to belong to you. And your question? It forces her to confront what she's trying to avoid. So instead of telling the truth, she flips the script. Suddenly, you're the insecure one. You're the toxic one. You are the reason she's acting this way. Sound familiar? If you're watching this and your chest is tightening, if you've had those moments where you walked away from an argument wondering, was I really the problem? Brother, you're not alone. This is what emotional manipulation feels like. It's not loud. It's not obvious. It's subtle, confusing. It messes with your reality. You stop trusting your instincts. You start apologizing for asking questions you had every right to ask. You begin to shrink, and that's what she wants. Not because she's evil, but because guilt turns into fear, and fear lashes out when cornered. But listen to me. You're not crazy for noticing a shift. You're not wrong for asking questions. You're not insecure. You're aware. So if her tone changes every time you seek honesty, if your questions trigger rage instead of reflection, if you find yourself defending yourself for simply trying to connect, that's not love. That's someone hiding behind anger to avoid telling you the truth. So now I ask you, when did love start feeling like walking on eggshells? When did you become the enemy in your own relationship? Pay attention, brother, because the way she responds to your honesty will always reveal the level of hers. Let's keep going. The signs aren't random, they're a pattern. And the next one? It's already in her hand right now. Let's talk about the phone. Sign number 3. Her phone becomes a secret fortress. Let me take you back to a time you probably remember well. The early days, when her laughter came easy, when her phone would buzz and she'd casually show you the screen, smiling, saying, "Look what my friend just sent." Back then, her phone wasn't a secret. It was just a phone. It wasn't a wall. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a mystery. But now her phone might as well be Fort Knox. Victor noticed it slowly. At first, it was just a glance. He'd reach for her phone to change the music during a drive, and she'd snatch it back with a nervous laugh. No, I'll do it," she'd say, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then it escalated. Her screen started facing down, notifications turned off, password changed, without explanation. She began taking her phone to the bathroom, to the kitchen, even into the shower. Once, Victor woke up at 2 a.m. The room was dim, the silence heavy, and there she was, sitting on the edge of the bed, hunched over her phone, face lit up, thumbs moving fast, like she was texting someone whose reply couldn't wait until morning. And when he asked, "Who are you talking to?" she didn't answer. She just turned the screen away and whispered, "Why do you always have to be so paranoid?" And that's when it hit him. Her phone wasn't just a device anymore. It was a vault. A vault full of secrets she didn't want him to see. Let me ask you something. When did she stop sharing her world with you? You used to know her group chats, her silly videos, her thoughts at 1 a.m. Now, every buzz makes you wonder who's on the other side of that screen. And she makes sure you'll never know. Here's the thing. In loyal love, phones aren't scary. They're transparent, open, harmless. But in disloyal love, they become sacred ground, forbidden, off limits. A modern diary with a lock only she knows the combination to, and if you ever bring it up, suddenly you don't trust her. You're invading her privacy. You're the bad guy for noticing the very thing she's afraid you'll uncover. Victor realized something that night. The moment you have to wonder what she's hiding, you already know. Because true intimacy doesn't fear transparency. When someone has nothing to hide, they hide nothing. So now I ask you, how many nights have you laid awake, staring at the glow from her screen, wondering who she's really texting? And how many more nights will you lie to yourself just to avoid the truth? Her silence isn't protection. Her secrecy isn't self-care. It's a sign, a brutal, quiet, digital sign that you're not the only man in her inbox anymore. Let's keep going, brother, because the next sign, she'll say it out loud, but she won't even realize how much it hurts you. She starts comparing you to other men. Sign number 4. She starts comparing you to other men. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever heard her mention another man's name, and something inside you twisted just a little? Not because you were jealous, not because you didn't trust her, but because of how she said it. That admiration, that sparkle, that subtle longing. And in that moment, it felt like you were being measured. That's what happened to Victor. It didn't start with anything loud. Just little comments, small comparisons, light jokes at first. James at work is so ambitious. I wish you'd think more about your future. You know, Jessica's boyfriend wakes up early and works out every day. That's real discipline. Chris really knows how to take care of his girl. He planned an entire surprise trip to Bali. And Victor? He laughed it off. The first few times, he didn't take it seriously. He thought, she's just trying to motivate me. But then, it didn't stop. It became constant. And slowly, without even realizing it, he stopped feeling like her man and started feeling like her project. Because here's the truth, brother. When a woman compares you to other men, she's not just making conversation. She's revealing dissatisfaction. And that dissatisfaction? It's a seed, a crack in the foundation. And if left unspoken, it grows into resentment, into emotional distance, into infidelity. Victor started questioning everything. Was he not successful enough? Was his love not loud enough? Was she wishing she was with someone else? You see, men don't need constant praise, but we do need to feel respected, to feel seen, to feel like we're enough for the woman we give our soul to. And when that woman starts comparing us to others, it feels like death by 1,000 cuts. Let me ask you, do you feel like you're always being measured now? Does she talk more about what other men do than what you've done for her? Does she bring up her ex more than you're comfortable with? Does she casually point out how other guys treat their girlfriends better, while ignoring everything you've silently endured for her? If so, don't ignore it. Because a woman who constantly compares is a woman who's emotionally checking out. Her mind is scanning, her heart is drifting, her words are warning signs, and the most dangerous part, she may not even realize she's doing it. But you do. Because every comparison chips away at your confidence, your masculinity, your peace. So now I ask you, are you still her man? Or have you become her reminder of what she thinks she's missing? The answer is painful, but pretending not to notice, that's worse. Let's keep going, because the next sign, it won't come in her words, it'll come in her silence, and it will hit you when you need her the most. And she's just not there. Sign number 5, the passion dies without explanation. Let me ask you something, and don't brush this off. When was the last time she touched you like she meant it? Not out of routine, not because you leaned in first, but because she wanted you. Do you remember? That fire you used to feel, the hunger, the urgency, the way her eyes lit up just by looking at you across the room? Gone now, isn't it? But here's the part that hurts the most. It didn't die overnight, and she never told you why. Victor noticed it slowly, like most men do. At first, she stopped initiating. Then, when he reached for her, she'd flinch just slightly, or say, "I'm just really tired tonight." The kisses got shorter, the touches colder. The intimacy once sacred became scheduled, or worse, skipped altogether. No fight, no explanation, just distance. And when he asked if something was wrong, she said, "You're imagining things." But he wasn't. And neither are you. Because when a woman begins to emotionally detach, her body follows. Passion, real passion, is not just about desire, it's about connection. And when that connection dies, so does the need to be close, to be vulnerable, to be yours. Victor would lie in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering, what changed? Did she stop finding him attractive? Was she giving herself to someone else? Was she punishing him for something he didn't even know he did? But the most terrifying possibility? She simply didn't care enough to explain. Let me ask you, are you in that space right now? Lying next to a woman whose body is present, but whose soul has already left the room? Are you holding someone who used to crave you, but now feels more like a roommate than a lover? That's not paranoia. That's not insecurity. That's reality knocking on your heart and begging you to listen. Because here's the truth. When passion dies without a clear reason, it's not about sex. It's about withdrawal. She's retreating. She's disconnecting. She's building a world where you no longer exist, at least not in the way you used to. And instead of telling you the truth, she fades. That slow fade is worse than a breakup, because it leaves you hanging in limbo, clinging to memories, hoping for a spark, praying for a sign. But deep down, you already know. Love doesn't disappear like that. Lust doesn't dissolve in silence. Closeness doesn't vanish without cause unless something or someone else has taken your place. So let me ask you, brother, how long are you going to pretend not to feel it? That ache, that void, that invisible wall between you and the woman you once believed would never let go. You feel it because it's real. And the moment you start lying to yourself about what's happening, that's when you truly lose her. Stay with me. Because the next sign, it isn't about what she takes, it's about what she no longer gives. Sign number 6, her stories stop adding up. Let me ask you something real personal. Have you ever heard her say something and your gut whispered, "That doesn't sound right"? You didn't want to believe it. You wanted to trust her. You told yourself, maybe I misheard, maybe I'm overthinking, maybe I'm just tired. That's what Victor did. It started off small. She said she was with her friend Rachel last Saturday night. No big deal. But the next morning, when he casually mentioned it, she froze. Then she said, "Oh no, I meant I was with Emily. I always mix them up." Victor shrugged it off. He didn't want to be that guy, the clingy one, the suspicious one. But then it happened again and again. "I stayed late at work," she'd say, but there were no extra hours on her paycheck. "I was asleep when you called," she'd whisper. But her Instagram stories showed her at a bar 45 minutes earlier, laughing with people he didn't recognize. And each time he asked for clarification, she had a new answer, a rushed explanation, a different name, a different timeline, a different tone. That's when he started realizing he wasn't being crazy. He was being lied to and gently gaslit along the way. You know what that feels like, don't you? You're not angry. You're confused. You're not jealous. You're trying to understand. You're not controlling. You're just watching her stories collapse under their own weight. But when you bring it up, she gets defensive. "You never believe me. Why do you always try to catch me in something? You're being so dramatic." But deep down, you know the truth. People who are honest don't need to keep rewriting their alibis. Let me tell you something painful but necessary. When a woman is loyal, her stories are consistent. They line up because they're based on truth, not imagination. But when the lies start stacking up, even she can't keep track of them anymore. So let me ask you, are you keeping a mental checklist of what she says just to protect yourself from feeling crazy? Do you replay her words in your mind at night, wondering why they don't match the photos, the timestamps, the little things that used to go unnoticed? If so, you're not being paranoid. You're waking up. You're seeing what your heart didn't want to accept. That her words are no longer grounded in love. They're now carefully constructed excuses. And here's the most dangerous part. The longer you let it slide, the more convinced she becomes that you'll never confront her. That you'll keep swallowing your doubt just to preserve the illusion. But illusions break. Always. So brother, I ask you, are you listening to her stories or are you listening to your gut? One lies. The other never has. Let's keep moving, because the next sign, it hits you in the face, but nobody else sees it. She starts acting brand new when you're not around. Sign number 7. Her friends act differently around you. Let me ask you this and think back carefully. Have her friends started acting weird around you? Not disrespectful, not rude, just different, quieter, more cautious, less friendly than they used to be. Victor noticed it one evening. He and his girl were headed to a birthday dinner. He used to be excited about these things, back when her friends would greet him with hugs, banter, and the inside jokes they used to include him in. But that night, they barely made eye contact. Smiles were forced. Conversations were awkward and short. One of them, Jess, who used to laugh at everything he said, couldn't even hold eye contact with him. And then there was this moment. Victor went to the bar to grab drinks. When he came back, the conversation stopped. Like someone hit mute. The air felt heavy, and when he asked what they were talking about, they just looked at each other and said, "Oh, nothing, just girl stuff." But it wasn't girl stuff. It was guilt. It was complicity. Because here's what you need to understand, brother. When a woman is cheating or emotionally drifting away, her friends almost always know before you do. And they're not just carrying her secret, they're protecting it. That's why their behavior changes. They don't know what to say. They don't want to slip up. They can't laugh with you like they used to, because now every word feels like a betrayal. Let me ask you, do her friends still treat you like family? Or do they treat you like a stranger who's just visiting a house that no longer belongs to him? When women are loyal, their circle is proud of the man they're with. Her girls hype you up. They talk about how lucky she is. They defend your name even when you're not around. But when she's hiding something, they go silent. They retreat. They treat you with that soft, careful politeness, the kind that says, "I know something you don't, and I hate that you don't know it." Victor felt it that night. He walked out of that party feeling like a ghost in a room he used to belong in, and that's when it hit him. The people closest to her were acting distant from him, because emotionally she already was. So I'll ask you again, do her friends look you in the eye the way they used to? Or do they flinch, like they know you're about to find out something that's been buried for far too long? Because secrets may be silent, but they change people. And if her circle is changing, brother, it's not random. It's a ripple, a consequence of a choice you didn't make, but you're about to feel. Let's move on, because the next sign, it's not just about who she's talking to. It's about who she's no longer listening to. And that someone is you. Sign number 8. She begins to invalidate your intuition. Let me ask you something deep. Have you ever brought up a concern to her? Something you felt in your gut? And she made you feel like you were crazy for even asking? Not just brushing it off, but looking you dead in the eye and saying things like, "Wow, you really think that about me? You must be insecure. Why are you so paranoid lately?" Victor knew that feeling all too well. He wasn't the jealous type. He didn't snoop through her phone or track her every move. But he felt it. The shift. The change. The gut-deep whisper that said, something's off. So one night, when she seemed distant, barely touching her food, glued to her phone, smiling at messages she wouldn't explain, he finally asked, "Is there something going on?" And her response? A laugh. Not a nervous one, not a soft one, but that cold, sarcastic kind of laugh that makes you feel small. "You're imagining things again. Seriously, Victor? This is getting old." And just like that, the conversation ended. Not because the question was answered, but because he was made to feel like the problem. That's how it works. When a woman begins to emotionally detach or stray, your intuition becomes her enemy. Not because it's wrong, but because it's right. And she can't risk you trusting it. So what does she do? She flips the script. She turns your gut feeling into an accusation. She paints your concern as insecurity. And slowly, you start to doubt yourself. Victor did. He stopped asking questions. He stopped expressing when something felt off. He told himself, maybe I'm just being sensitive. Maybe I'm the one who needs to relax. But in doing that, he silenced the only voice that was telling him the truth. His own. So let me ask you, man to man, has your intuition been quietly raising red flags while she's been gaslighting you into believing they're just your imagination? Do you feel hesitant to even bring things up anymore? Because every time you do, she turns it into an attack on your character? That's not love. That's not communication. That's manipulation. A woman who truly loves you might get defensive. Sure, she might be hurt by suspicion, but she'll never try to kill your ability to feel. She'll never invalidate your need for emotional safety, because love listens, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it stings. But if every time you bring up your truth, she twists it into your weakness, then you're not being loved. You're being controlled. And brother, let me say this loud for the men who've been doubting themselves for too long. Your intuition is not a weakness. It's a compass. Don't let her break it to protect her secret. Now stay with me, because the next sign, it's where she stops fighting for us and starts fighting for her freedom. Sign number 9. She makes plans that don't include you. Let me ask you something honest. Have you noticed her making plans lately, and you're nowhere to be found? Not just a casual hangout with friends, not just a work event you couldn't attend. I'm talking about moments where she's actively choosing to spend time without you. Victor felt that sting. It wasn't obvious at first. She told him she was going out with the girls, nothing to worry about. But then it happened again and again. Concerts, dinners, weekend trips, things she used to plan with him, now carefully orchestrated solo or with people he didn't know. Every time Victor asked, he got vague answers. Oh, it's just some old friends. Nothing serious, just a quick get-together. I didn't think you'd want to come. But Victor knew better. He could feel the distance growing. Each plan made without him was a silent message. I'm living parts of my life you're not invited to anymore. Do you know what that feels like? It's like watching a slow unraveling of a shared story you thought was forever. Like you're being erased from chapters she's writing without you. And the worst part? The worst part is when you ask why. And she gets defensive. Why can't I have my own space? Why do you always have to control everything? Don't you trust me? Victor did trust her. He trusted the woman who used to make him the center of her world. But now, the woman making plans without him was someone else entirely. Let me ask you, are you being left out of moments you once thought were sacred? Are you hearing about her nights after they've passed, like a stranger hearing stories from a life you're no longer part of? That's not just absence, that's a warning sign. Because when she's making plans without you, especially repeatedly, it means her heart and mind are stepping away from the relationship. She's investing her time and energy somewhere else. Victor realized it wasn't just about missing a few events. It was about where her attention truly was. And the truth hit hard. Love isn't supposed to feel like an afterthought. It's not supposed to be paused or sidelined while she lives a separate life. So I ask you, brother, are you still sharing your future, or is she already living hers without you? Because when you're left out of the plans, you're left out of her world. And that's a space no man wants to occupy. Stay with me, because the final sign, it's the silent withdrawal, where even her words stop reaching you. Sign number 10, you just know. Let me ask you something, man. Have you ever had that gut feeling, that quiet, undeniable whisper deep inside your chest, that something isn't right? Not because of what she said, not because of what you saw, but because your heart knows the truth, even when your mind fights it. Victor had that feeling. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was a subtle shift, like a shadow crossing the light. A quiet heaviness when she walked into the room. A tension in the air that wasn't there before. He tried to ignore it. He told himself he was overthinking. He searched for reasons, excuses, anything to silence that voice. But it wouldn't stop. And here's the thing about that knowing. It's not paranoia. It's not insecurity. It's your intuition screaming louder than ever. You just know. You know because you felt the distance. You know because her touch feels colder. You know because the smiles don't reach her eyes anymore. Victor realized one painful truth. Sometimes the signs don't come with clear proof. Sometimes they come wrapped in silence, in glances, in the spaces between words. You don't always catch her in a lie. You don't always hear the excuses or see the hidden texts, but you feel it, in your bones, in your soul. That feeling is a warning. It's a call to pay attention. To stop pretending everything is fine when your heart knows otherwise. So ask yourself, have you been telling yourself the story you want to hear because the truth hurts too much? Have you ignored that silent knowing because facing it means facing loss? You're not alone. Victor sat in that dark room, wrestling with his truth. Because knowing is the hardest part. It forces you to choose. Do you keep hoping she'll come back? Or do you face the pain and protect yourself? Remember, your heart doesn't lie. That quiet knowing, it's your most powerful ally. Trust it. Victor didn't wake up with rage. He woke up with clarity. And in that moment, he remembered something Marcus Aurelius once wrote. Don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself. Victor stopped complaining. He stopped hoping for the old version of Lena to return. He faced the truth. He let go. Because a stoic man doesn't break when betrayed. He becomes even more still, even more grounded, even more powerful. So now I'll ask you one more time, brother. Are you going to keep pretending? Or are you going to start observing? Because the signs are there. They've always been there. You just have to stop looking at her and start seeing her. If this spoke to you, subscribe to this channel and become the man who never loses himself chasing someone who already left. Like this video if you're done ignoring your intuition, and above all, share this with someone who needs to hear it. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.